Welcome to the Captain Bagrat podcast, where we're on a mission to fight boring news about Asia and Australia. You know, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it with a finger on the Asianish pulse. As always, we're recording from Downtown Chinatown with yours truly, the mythical Madam Chan and friends. Good evening, and guess who we've got today? We've got Fei Fei Lushon. I think I'm saying your name right?
About there, yeah.
Oh, close enough. And you're from a collective heritage, and this is what we try to promote. So you've got American, Chinese, and now soon to be Australian heritage, and plus a little bit of German, right?
Yeah, through marriage, basically.
So you've got pretty much 4 collective cultures, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated, hence also in my name, right? So the Lu Shun is, the Lu part is actually the Chinese part, and then Shun, or Shane, is the German part, and it's my husband's last name. So when we hyphenated, that's what we got. And fun fact, for both of them, both the Chinese part and the German part, they naturally have an umlaut in it. So if you add that on top, then basically nobody knows how to pronounce my last name.
So can you explain to everyone what an umlaut is?
Yeah, umlaut is the 2 dots that show up on a character. It's from German, but in Chinese there's similar sort of accentation or punctuation on letters for names, but we don't call it umlaut. So in Chinese, my last name is actually Lu, and my husband's last name is actually Shun. But in English, our last names are Lu Shane.
Lu Shane. Hey, Lu Shane, what up?
And we thought just for fun. I mean, his family, when they first moved over to the U.S., you know, they were originally, I guess, from kind of a German heritage. And they dropped the umlaut to make it easier for Americans. And
probably their systems.
Yeah,
because I had problems with my hyphenated name in Australia.
Yeah, sitting in front of a bureaucrat and trying to explain how to type your name, right? Exactly. And then my family, when they moved over, of course, they also dropped the dots just to make it easier for the bureaucrat.
Can you imagine if you, at the German side and the Chinese side, went to the bureaucrat and go, hey, can you just download the German and the Chinese keyboard? Because then you'll get the umlaut there.
I know. And like, I mean, back then when our families migrated, there weren't even keyboards yet, right? So he probably would have had to like take a pencil and dot the dots in. Anyways, whatever. So we are decolonizing our last names and reintroducing the umlauts just for shits and giggles, and now literally no one in the world can pronounce it, probably.
Can you imagine the bureaucrat trying to put the dots into the letter O or something? Go, no. The O does not. The 2 dots do not go in the O. It goes above the O. Not a smiley face.
Yeah, basically. And for added complexity, the LU with the 2 dots on top, there's actually an upside down triangle on top of the 2 dots.
Oh,
but
no.
I wasn't even going to get into that because I don't even know how to type that.
Well, today we're going to be talking about something a little bit serious and also talking about what it's like to be American, Chinese / Australian now, and then also German. So just to get the listeners going, I thought we'd start with the Fast 5.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I haven't done the Fast 5 for ages. So first thing that comes to your head. All right. Ready?
Okay.
You look really scared. You look so scared.
I'm an Asian taking a test. What do you want?
Look, you'll get 100% regardless, okay? Be okay with that.
Must have A's. Right.
Oh, wait a second, you want 110%? I'm sure I can give you that too. All right, first of all, your favorite go-to drink?
Ooh, chai tea. But prana chai, like proper chai tea.
Proper
not
chai.
like, you know, from a mix.
Oh, so what's proper chai tea?
Whatever chai tea you guys drink here, because it is delicious.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
All right, which country serves the best burger?
Okay.
Well, first of all, what's your favorite burger?
What's my favorite burger? It's Five Guys from the U.S.
Okay.
Which is from mostly the East Coast, kind of like around the Baltimore, D.C. area. And sorry, because I'm American, I have to say that American burgers are better. You guys have good burgers,
ouch.
but it's the difference is in the beef. Like our beef is fattier,
Ooh,
and then your
okay.
beef is really lean, which is actually healthier, but it just doesn't give the same oomph on a proper burger.
You need the fat. You need the fat.
Yeah,
to
I
sizzle.
need that USDA like certified plus, you know, whatever beef.
I'm going to have to go to the US and have this burger now. Oh, my God. So which country has the best yum cha?
Oh, okay. First off, we call it dim sum over there.
Oh,
not
okay.
Yum cha. I actually had to learn new Chinese Australian words when I got here. I was like, what the hell is yum cha? And then, you know what? It's hard to say because it depends on where in the U.S.
Okay.
Your yum cha is very good as well.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think it's a tie. Yeah, because there's some places with really, really good dim sum in America, and then some places where it's pretty terrible.
So it varies.
Yeah, it varies.
Depends on the chef, really.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you want to eat for dinner tonight?
Oh, Korean food. I am dying. I live in Manly and I love the northern beaches and it's beautiful, but there's not a single halfway decent Korean restaurant, at least not that I found. And I am dying for Korean food.
Well, you came to the right place. Chinatown and the surrounding, it's got great Korean food.
Yes.
Great outdoor stuff. All right, last question. Describe your first feeling or even like a memory or a moment that always makes you think of your first step in Australia, like first landing, whether that's off an aircraft or when you stepped out of the airport or something along that line.
I've been living in Australia for a little over a year now, but I came here 4 years ago for vacation and basically fell in love with it and like have been plotting since to get my work to transfer me here. So like basically I loved it so much here that I really wanted to be here. And the moment that I was just so pleasantly surprised by Australia, I guess would be I was in Perth, actually.
WA, yes.
And had a really busy work week and then took out a bike and just biked along the Swan River to the coast there and just sat down on the beach and like looked over, I guess the Indian Ocean would be on that side.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was just like, oh my God, this place is beautiful.
Did you start crying?
I mean, a little. I kind of teared up. I was like, holy crap. I mean, the land of golden shores, my lord. Yeah, and the seed of wanting to move to Australia was planted, I think, that day.
Oh, did you watch the sunset? Or was it just during the day?
No, I think it was just during the day. I don't think I waited for the sunset.
Oh, but still just as beautiful over there, isn't there?
It is. This is God's country here. It is legit beautiful you guys have down here.
And
really
Swan
is.
River is pretty amazing because sometimes you can spot dolphins.
Yeah, I didn't get to see dolphins that day, but I saw the beautiful black swans, those massive pelicans. I mean, it just was, it was beautiful.
And you're like, that's it, I'm moving to Australia.
Yeah, I love birds, so you guys have really cool birds here.
Oh, really? I don't know about the seagulls here. They're a bit of a menace.
Yeah, well, your seagulls are, they are actually. They stole a sandwich from my husband once. That was...
Are you kidding?
Yeah, apparently that's actually pretty common, but yeah, he tried to have lunch on the beach and got attacked by seagulls and they stole a sandwich, so...
Yeah, watch out for those dingoes as well. They're just as bad. They steal babies.
Actually, I heard that was disapproved.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But still, it's an ongoing joke in Australia. They steal babies.
Okay.
And everyone gets afraid by it.
It is, yeah.
Well, that was your Fast Five. And I reckon we should go straight into some myth busting. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Yeah, because I got to know you. You told me a few things. And I believe everyone feels the same, regardless of, which country you're in. And if you look somewhat Asian, people assume that you're actually born in Asia or your respective country. But that's not the case with you, is it?
No, born in the U.S. Yeah, born and raised. I could technically be president.
And you can be an astronaut. Apparently, you got to be a U.S. citizen to be an astronaut.
Well, yes, you don't have to be a natural-born citizen to be an astronaut, though. I don't think.
I need to marry an American soon.
But in our Constitution, you do have to be a natural-born American in order to be president. But that's neither here nor there. No way in hell will I ever be president. Yeah, so I actually consider myself kind of a mixed heritage family. I know that sounds weird because both my parents are technically Chinese, but my mom is from Hong Kong and my dad is from mainland China. He only spoke Mandarin when they met, and she only spoke Cantonese. So we actually used English as the common language in our household. So that's something I think people sort of forget. They sort of lump all Chinese people into one massive thing, but it's actually a lot of cultural diversity just within that one ethnic group. So like assuming two Chinese people with very, 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 very different dialects can speak with each other without any sort of previous language training is like assuming a German and a Portuguese person can speak.
Yeah, because in America there are like 50-something states. Please correct me. How many?
50 states, yeah.
Oh my God, I got it right. Okay.
50 states.
Yes, that's 100%. I got A. And so in America, like, there's not so much in terms of dialects, correct?
Well,
Or
I guess it kind of
yeah.
depends. Like, I mean, technically everybody speaks English, but every region has their own sort of variety and slight special accent. I think a lot of people, of course, know the Southern accent because it actually gets parodied a lot in movies, which is actually sometimes not fair to them, I think.
The Southern Belle, right?
Yeah. I like my... No, I'm not going to do it.
Okay,
I actually really don't like mocking other people's accents, so I'm not going to do it. But yeah, like every region has a slight variation, and it kind of reflects the immigrant history of those areas as well. So I actually heard that there's a place in the out in the Midwest where their accent is like really, really unique, and it reflects a really old version of like a really, really old version of German. That is not even spoken in Germany anymore. It's like
Wow.
it's like some really crazy obscure accent / dialect that this region speaks. So yeah, so I'm sure it's the same as Australia. Like every place has their own sort of take on things.
But the thing is, like, people can still understand. Whereas in China, there are, I don't know how many different provinces, but they all have very different dialects.
Yeah,
so it makes it really hard.
A lot of people forget that, quote, modern Chinese or like simplified Chinese has only been in existence for, oh gosh, less than 50 years. I think the last time they changed the written language was in the 70s. Yeah, so it really wasn't that long ago. And yeah, up to really the 60s, well, actually really recently, every region in China had their own dialects that were really quite unique, and everybody spoke very differently.
Yeah, and they couldn't understand each other unless it was in written form, right?
Even in written form, right? So like in the old days when there was still the fantiz, like the traditional Chinese versus the simplified. Like I can read some of the traditional Chinese, but it's hard.
It's complicated. There's a lot of dots and lines and strokes everywhere.
And not every character is recognizable. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So then I'm guessing your first language is English as opposed to Chinese, Mandarin, or
No,
Cantonese.
so that's the weird part. I was born in the U.S., but I went to China to live with my grandparents from the ages of 3 to 7.
Okay.
So that's when you learn your first spoken language. So actually, technically, my first spoken language is Chinese, but my native language is English. I'm more comfortable in English than Chinese.
Yeah, it's almost like by osmosis when you were born, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm getting the sounds of English, and then you get sent over to China, and you're like, all right, now I actually have to speak a totally different language.
Yeah, like, it's weird. Yeah, native-born American, but I had to be an ESOL, which is this program we have back in the U.S. English is
I don't know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I had to be an ESOL until like 4th grade.
Awkward. So did you find that learning two languages and learning just at school was a little bit harder, or did you find that at some point all of a sudden your brain just clicked having both languages and your marks just shot up?
It was not harder, but I also wasn't able to learn both languages. When my English got better, I lost my Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only way now that I was able to regain Chinese was because in my adulthood, I went to work for a few years there and was formally trained in the Chinese language. And so therefore, I was able to learn Mandarin. But actually, truth be told, when I was 7, I went over to the U.S. I really, really tried to learn English, forgot all my Chinese.
Oh, no.
And then my parents got really frustrated, so then they sent me to Chinese school on the weekends so I could relearn my Chinese. And of course, I didn't learn a word. So...
Because everyone spoke in English in the class, or
it's learning a language is more about the environment that you're in than the school that you're in. So even though I was like learning Chinese on the weekends, all my friends spoke English. I lived in a completely English speaking environment, so like there was no way I was going to learn Chinese.
There's no need. So when you were at school, what was it like studying in the US in primary school or high school or uni or college, whatever they call it over there?
I mean, probably very similar to here in a lot of ways, but then also as a classic, third culture kid or immigrant kid, you dealt with all the usual sort of vaguely racist things that little kids throw at you or adults throw at you just for like no random reason whatsoever. Yeah, I got called my fair share of like Sophie Lucans and like, just terrible Asian nicknames. I had the classic brought Chinese food for lunch one day, got laughed at by other kids because my quote food stunk.
No, it did not. They were just jealous. I bet you it was something really tasty.
Well, nowadays I'm sure they are. Yeah, but yeah, like back then I think it was like, yeah, my dad made some stir-fried noodles. Of course, the kids laughed at me. And so I went home and cried. And then my dad, fun story, packed me hot dogs for 2 years. Because he was like, well, this is the most American food you can possibly have. No one can laugh at you. So like to this day, I can barely eat hot dogs.
You're like, you've hot dogged me out, Dad.
Yeah, I ate all the hot dogs in my life in my childhood.
Well, that was so nice of your dad, but that was a bit mean of all the kids.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I mean,
but I feel sorry for the Thai kids because they have a lot of fish sauce in their food. So imagine them opening it up, it smells of fish sauce instead.
I'd hope that immigrant kids these days are growing up and not with those kinds of experiences anymore. And that, like, I feel like food diversity has improved a lot more in both Australia and the US. So like most kids these days probably grew up eating noodles.
That's right.
And not just being like, oh, I can't believe you have noodles.
And their staple is actually rice.
Yeah.
So in Australia, we have what were Indigenous Australians as well as Torres Strait Islanders, who are also known as the First Nation people. So in the US, I'm guessing in a lot of schools, you'll have the Native Americans as well as African Americans as well.
Yeah. So I grew up in a really, really diverse part of America. And so we had basically kids from all races. And actually grew up in a place that is sort of known historically as being an African American neighborhood as well.
Yeah. And so what I'm trying to say is like these kids have a lot of problems in terms of being accepted because now that what we've seen in the US with Black Lives Matter or the movement there, is this a systemic issue or is it just something that the police force that's something that happens when they convict some sort of crime and the African Americans get hit harder than, let's say, the Asian compatriots?
It's systematic.
Okay.
It's systemic. So acceptance is not an issue for Black Americans in America. So that I guess is a little bit. I'm not super familiar with the race politics here per se. I know that there are a lot of issues that Aboriginal Australians and Indigenous Australians have experienced for many, many years. In the U.S., the bias towards Black Americans and African Americans, they're actually a little bit different, but I'm not going to get into the full explanation of it. There's a lot of nuances in there. Have been around for ages, and it's not just somebody committed a crime and a police officer responded violently. That's a misconception. There basically Black communities in America are policed and regulated and targeted in a way by all institutions across like all government institutions as well as private people that the response is always disproportionate to what's actually happening. I mean, the number of cases of unarmed Black children who just get gunned down in the street by a vigilante or a armed police officer, and you find out later they're just holding a bottle of iced tea and a bag of Skittles. That's Trayvon Martin.
Yeah.
So basically, it's not somebody did something illegal and therefore the police officers responded to them in a certain way. But even then, if you're a white person or an Asian person, you do something illegal, usually you're not going to get shot out of your altercation with the police. They're going to arrest you. You get charged for something, but they're not going to kneel on your neck for 10 minutes or 9 minutes in the
or beat you till you're
until you're unconscious. But the reaction to the African American community and to the Black community in the U.S. unfortunately tends towards that direction.
And that stemmed from historical baggage, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of things. I can't even get into the depth of it all. There are so many issues. It's racism and slavery is America's original sin. That's what we called it. I mean, the police force, some of it, not all, but some of the police force was originally established in the U.S. actually to track down escaped slaves.
Yeah.
So just FYI, that's the history of police forces in the U.S. Some of them, not all of them. So it's the institution and the way that it's been designed and the legacy of it. It's always been a little bit, not a little bit, a lot, sort of.
But I guess that keeps flowing on into the modern world that we live in, even though a lot has changed. Because you were telling me the story about this African American man who apparently 50 years ago, you mentioned that he would have been spat on by a little girl, but instead today little girls are holding up signs going justice for peace.
Oh yeah. So that story is, it was Al Sharpton. So Reverend Al Sharpton. He's a very very well known African American politician in the U.S. From our and he's been involved in the civil rights movement in the U.S. since forever. And he told a story about how once upon a time in the '60s when he was marching and for civil rights, he would have been afraid of there would have been a little maybe white girl that would run up to him and she would spit on him out of anger. But now he told a story about how in the most recent Black Lives Matter movement, he was marching and a little white girl came up to him and yelled, "No justice, no peace," so it's there's definitely a generational shift and things are hopefully getting better, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be
complacent.
We can't be complacent about it. It needs to be heard.
Because it's great that the younger generation are have access to internet and can understand, okay, so what's going on is not right in the way that we treat African Americans or treat people who we view as different just because of their superficial coloring. So I think it's great that we're moving along, but then at the same time, there are pockets of society who have a very loud voice, and they're the ones what possibly be agitating this whole this racism in America, or this white supremacist.
Yeah, there's some stories of white supremacists who are agitating from within and just trying to make the movement look bad. Then there's also just opportunists like looters and things like that. I just it's so complicated. It's so case specific. It's really hard to nail it all down. I mean, message from a U.S. in general. We're not all burning. Everything is fine. This is, I actually honestly think, a healthy part of the development of democracies. The way that the government is responding and the way that the police are responding is not healthy. But I do believe that this is, the way for America to move forward is we do need to have these difficult conversations. So, but what about Australia actually? So I'm still very new here. I don't understand the politics here as much, but I know that you guys must have racism issues as well.
Yes, so as you know, I'll give you the quickest summary of Australia history from, I guess, my point of view and from what I have absorbed from studying in Australia, having gone through primary school all the way through to university. So Australia is a young colony, 1788. That's when Philip Arthur came over on... don't quote me. I may have got the boat name wrong, so I'm not even going to quote it at all. And so I guess being an empire, they were faced with Indigenous, Aboriginal, and Torres Strait Islanders in a way that were not fair, I guess. There was a lot of calling, as in CULLING, not CALLING. And so I guess it was an annexation of the Aboriginal people and their communities. There was also a lot of immersion, so they tried to bring the Aboriginal kids, they separated them from their parents to bring them up into the institution that they are well known for, and that hasn't gone well because I guess the English thought that they were doing good by educating them and by bringing them up in a civilized kind of way. So there's
civilized.
Yeah, they always use the word civilized when it comes to, I mean, Asia was also colonized and they called it we're making Asia more civilized. So it's a word that keeps, coming up in all sorts of history.
What a loaded word.
I know.
What is it like for Aboriginal people or people of Aboriginal descent now, though, in modern day Australia? I think I've heard the term black, BLAK, used as well. Is that a term that they would use to describe themselves? And Black Lives Matter, BLAK Lives Matter.
I'm probably not an expert on this thing, but I do know that there's still a lot of incidents. Like Australia still has the highest in terms of the Indigenous being locked up, the First Nation people. But I think things are improving, and I think with the Black Lives Movement and Black Lives Matter, it's actually helping the situation in Australia to recognise that perhaps we should be treating the Indigenous people, in a fairer way. So I think this is a moment in history where we're in a very exciting but also very tumultuous period where we're like, where is this going to go?
Right.
Yeah, is this actually going to make a difference to racial discrimination? Are people finally going to be able to recognize that, okay, we actually need to do something about it and just move on and just say, what has happened in the past is something that we need to actually work on and move forward and recognize that racism is not okay.
A bit of reckoning that is,
reckoning.
Is in order. Yeah,
I think so. I think this, I don't want to get this show is not usually about politics.
Yeah,
we're getting a little deep, sorry, but it is like
Americans. We're just more political, I guess.
Well, because I think African Americans have had a really, really tough. African Americans get shot, like you said, but if an Asian got caught by the police, it will kind of be like a slap on the arm, or maybe something a little bit less severe. So I can completely understand why in the US it is driven pretty hard, but in Australia, it just doesn't have the same level of coverage.
Yeah, I would actually say that I wouldn't necessarily say that the level of violence leveraged against the Indigenous communities here is not as bad as the US, but it does seem like it's not as covered here.
Yeah. But recently they're covering a few things, which I think is great for people to actually see what is happening behind doors. Yeah. Anyway, on to something a little bit lighter.
All right. Sorry to bring it down, but it seems to be the topic of the moment, I guess, is the best way
Not
to
bring it
describe
down. It's a good deep dive. So on our show, we talk a lot about collective heritage and how, there's always the notion of people saying, oh, you got to be one or the other. But we are of the view that you should celebrate and embrace your collective heritage, which is why it's wonderful being American, why is it wonderful also being Chinese, and soon you'll be adding Australian to it, and also a bit of German culture as well. So tell me, how do you feel about this concept?
Yeah. I think we've talked about this before, and we've noticed that for other people who are not like us, the push is always, well, you have to pick one.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Only
Which
one.
one are you?
Because don't confuse me, because you're confusing me. That's why.
Pick one. You're American or something else, but that's it. And it is really interesting, but I refuse to pick one. Of course, you refuse to pick one. I refuse to pick one. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
I can be simultaneously as American as I want to be, and also identify with my Chinese side and my Chinese cultural heritage. And my husband similarly can be as American as he wants, or identify with his German heritage. And for Australia, I'm still very new, but I'm really excited and learning a lot, and will become more Aussie as I go. My accent hasn't changed yet, but let's see. But I love the animals here. I love the people here. I like the sort of the general feel of society in general across the board.
And beaches, of course.
Yeah. The one thing though that's Aussie that I can't. It's really hard for me, and I think I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to do it. Vegemite.
Oh, Vegemite.
I'm so sorry. It is so hard for me. It is not good. I have been trying. Trust me.
Vegemite's great for a hangover.
I can't. Once a month, I've been forcing myself to have a piece of toast and put a little Vegemite on it, and I'm just like, maybe I'll like it this time. And it doesn't matter how much butter I add to it, how much other stuff I cover it up with. I just can't. It's a specific flavor. I applaud you guys for eating it, but it's not for me. I'm sorry.
Look, the more you have it, the more you'll love it. Just keep going.
But
Maybe,
thank you for trying, making the effort.
I mean, like, when if ever I go for Australian citizenship and, like, they put me down in a room with a jar of Vegemite and told me to eat it or I can't be Australian, then I'll do it. But I'm not gonna like it, but I'll do it.
You're like, can I just have a bit of that on top of my dumpling and then a burger as well?
I've been meaning to test out Vegemite fried rice. I'm thinking fried rice will be the key for me. Like, I think if I put it into my fried rice, I'll be able to eat it.
Well, there's another Australian master chef called Adam Lau. So he did a dish with Vegemite, which is so what he did was, like, he had toast and he I think he crushed it up into little bits, so like crumbs, and then he put Vegemite on it before he crumbed it up, and so it has like sort of saltiness, but then he put it on with cheese as well, like Parmesan cheese, and then he put it on top of the bolognese pasta, so that made the eating experience a little bit like better.
But just listen to how much you have to do.
Yeah,
to
that's
make
right.
Vegemite edible. Guys, it should not be that hard. Food is supposed to be easy to eat. I'm just saying.
I know, but sometimes, like, because I've grown up in Australia, and look, I usually don't eat Vegemite, but the two things that I missed the most when I was working in China, and because I couldn't have access to it, was Vegemite. All of a sudden, I started eating Vegemite on toast every single morning. Oh, okay. And then I started making my own muesli, which is really weird as well, which I don't do in Australia.
Yeah, Weet-Bix, yeah.
Yeah, like, I was just like, oh my God, why am I toasting this Weet-Bix from, like...
Weet-Bix kids are Aussie kids, right?
And muesli from scratch.
Love it.
It's weird, I know. So if there's a dessert out there that would describe you, what would it be? Because you know how we, people of yellow on the outside and then white on the inside get called like, bananas. Well, I like to see myself as a deep fried ice cream because, is it an Australian thing to have deep fried ice cream?
No, we have deep fried ice cream as well. Yeah, actually, weirdly enough, we associate deep fried ice cream with Mexican food. Oh. But that might be a gringo thing. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's actually authentically Mexican, but so please do not quote me on that.
I thought it was just an Australian thing. All right, it's good to know that it's all around the world. Yeah. So what kind of dessert would describe you? Okay. Or what do you love more?
I love lots of desserts. I'm not a huge sweet tooth to begin with. I like savory things more. But if I had to, I love almond tofu. I love pandan cake. Pandan from Singapore. That stuff is delicious. I think a lot of white people, have not heard of pandan yet. Yeah. If you have not heard of it, make it a part of your life. It is good. It is basically...
It makes everything green.
Yes, and it's like basically tropical vanilla. It's vanilla, but better. So just do it. And then also I love red bean. So red bean is a part of my cultural heritage.
Chinese
when I was little, at the age of 3, I would have these memories of after school, my grandmother would go and we would, ride our little bicycle home, and she would pick me up a hongdou bingguar, which is
the red bean.
Frozen red bean, a popsicle, an ice pop. Yeah. Oh, so good. And back then, this is early days China, capitalism hadn't even fully penetrated yet. So they didn't even have branded store-bought red bean popsicles. They only had, it was a little old lady who handmade them and wrapped them in paper, and you just buy it out of her cooler box. Oh, that shit was so good. And my biggest complaint for Western people that I have experienced, or people who are not of Asian descent, is they don't understand why Asians eat beans as a dessert, right? They're like, oh, why would you eat beans as a dessert? How can beans be sweet? And
you add sugar to it.
you add sugar to it. And my most common feedback is chocolate is a bean.
Yes, it's a cocoa bean.
Chocolate is a fucking bean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to process it a lot. You have to cook it a lot. Yeah. You have to add sugar and milk to it to make it edible, because it is a dessert bean. Yeah. It's the same thing you do to red beans, same thing you do to other beans to make them into a dessert. So you can take it and shove it because you have been eating beans for dessert your entire life. So
it's just a different color bean, that's all.
Exactly.
Good to see you're supporting black beans.
Yeah, unpopular opinion. I actually think chocolate is crap.
But you prefer the red bean.
Oh, do I?
Is there a yellow bean that we should all like?
Well, lotus seed, right? So lotus seed is also used as dessert. Green bean is used as dessert. So I mean, dude, we all use beans.
Soybeans for soy milk and soy products.
Yeah, exactly. So you can just take it and shove it.
Yeah, you can just bean it all up. Yeah. And so when you go on a date, do you have dessert? Or what's it like dating in the US compared to
anywhere else being of a sort of Asian collective Western heritage.
I think you probably understand this as well, that like for some reason how Asian women date is extremely politicized. Like everybody has an opinion about what person you should date,
Especially your mother, right?
well, especially your mother, but that's just like a whole nother thing. Yeah, so like I've dated people of all different ethnic sort of backgrounds. I've dated a Persian, I've dated Latino, I've dated Black, I've dated Asian, I've dated white. I ended up marrying a white guy, but every single person I dated, those around me had an opinion about why I was doing it. There was always a reason, and it always said more about them than it said about me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you share?
It's just like if you don't date an Asian guy, then other people are like, well, you know what, are Asians not good enough for you? And then if you only date Asian guys, then it's like, what, are you racist against others?
You just can't win, can you?
No, you can't. If you date a Black guy, then obviously you're making a political statement as well for some reason.
Oh God.
And it's just I dated guys because they were cute and cool. And actually, weirdly enough, it didn't matter what ethnic origin or background they might be. All of the guys I dated had a very similar lived cultural experience. They were all growing up in the U.S. With a kind
heritage.
of pseudo-liberal urban experience, and like we watched the same movies, listened to the same music, and
shared interests.
And shared the same interests. Exactly. Actually, if anything, the one guy I dated who like I had absolutely nothing in common with, so like I dated this one conservative white guy who was an ex-Marine.
Oh,
and
no.
that did not last long. Like, that one was like, oh wow, this is a really weird experience. I do not enjoy it. We have nothing in common. And
apart from your muscles, which is quite nice, but then underneath nothing.
Yeah. So like out of all of the people I dated, that was definitely the one guy who was like, wow, we have nothing in common. This is not gonna work. Yeah. That on top of the fact that he also like yelled at a waitress at a restaurant and a bar.
Oh, that's not a good indication.
Oh yeah. Never date somebody who gets mean to your serve staff.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think that's the number one tester, regardless of race, regardless of anything else.
Yeah.
If they're
Warning
rude to a waitress or waiter, then it's not
Run
on.
away.
Yeah, that's how it's going to treat your kids later on, or your mother.
Or you.
Or you, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about domestic violence.
For reals. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, so dating in Australia has been sort of tough for me as well. Like you said, if I date Asians, kind of people go, oh, so, was he small? Or like that's the first thing they ask.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, well, whatever. Insert whatever answer you want in there. And then when I started dating white guys, they're like, oh, so, you're racist to your own race. I'm like, oh my God, I can't win.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So you just have to go with, well, I'm attracted to that guy. He's got a good personality. We have a lot in common. He's, okay in bed. That'll do.
And also, we shouldn't have to feel like we need to explain that to anybody.
Exactly.
It's not their business.
Maybe we should be asking, so how many Asians have you dated? Or how many, African Americans have you dated?
Yeah, it's not a fucking contest. Guys, we need to calm down.
And it doesn't make you racist if you go for one kind, does it? Or I don't know. Whatever floats your boat. So then, how do you see the world from now on? So you having an interracial relationship, marriage, your kids will be, beautiful because they're going to be half and half, and they, like, I'm generalizing, but they usually are pretty good looking.
It's either or. Like, I feel like mixed babies, they come out just absolutely gorgeous, or like, oh.
No, I think they're all gorgeous.
No, I'm kidding. Usually, yeah. Looking forward to it.
So how would you like them to see the world? And also, what kind of last name would they have? Would they have a hyphenated surname, or would you go with the traditional Western, which is the Shun, or would you go the traditional? The traditional Chinese way is taking on the father's name, correct?
Yeah, you take the father's name, but the woman keeps her last name.
Yes. Yeah. So how do you see this working out?
We're probably gonna. Oh, this is actually really weird. I can't confirm this because I still need to talk to my hubby about it.
Whoops. Maybe we shouldn't record this then.
No, my preference would be to hyphenate. I think it's really important. I mean, part of the reason why I wanted to hyphenate was because I didn't want to have that weird conversation with people where if I take my husband's last name, which is Western, and then they see me, they'll be like, you get that weird moment where you think they think you tricked them.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're not white. Oh, you tricked me. But like, I'm not trying to trick you.
I am married to a white guy.
Yeah, but I just didn't want to have that. And also, I am actually really, really proud of my heritage and my last name. And like, if we can hyphenate it, since our two last names are not absurdly long, I figured why not, right? If we can hyphenate it, we can. And then if we can reintroduce the umlauts, we will.
I think you should reintroduce the umlaut. Because these days, everyone can just download the keyboard anyways.
I really want to, but it would be really hard. Like, I would have to tell so many different governments what we did to our names. So we'll see. It'd
be like Chinese whispers, and then they just keep changing. Next thing, your surname is like something completely different.
Yeah,
it's
and then I'm going to start getting flagged at airports because none of my names match. Like, that's going to get so complicated.
And then your poor kid's gonna go, oh, mom, dad, why?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I definitely think we'll probably hyphenate. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think I'm loving where this world is going to. I think people are finally recognizing that there needs to be a bit of a recognition. The Day of Reckoning sounds like a good movie. and so you with your mixed heritages, which I think people should embrace, as opposed to making you, with a shotgun to your head going, you gotta choose one of the 3 or 4. It just makes would you call this like a bad love triangle, or would you call this like a hot mess triangle?
Hot mess triangle. You mean between the US, China, and Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very topical too.
I mean, in my personal identity, it's not a triangle because like I am how to describe it? They're not separate from each other. They're all mixed together, right?
Yeah.
It's more like a Venn diagram, maybe.
Venn diagram triangle.
Yeah. And Vegemite sits solidly in the Australia circle.
Let's just call it the Vegemite
overlap with the other stuff. Yeah. But for Australia, I guess itself, just being like kind of the triangular relationship that you guys,
the child stuck in the middle of an abusive relationship, right?
Yeah, it is not pleasant. I will give you guys that. It is a tough spot to be in. Yeah,
it really is. Yeah, but I reckon that's enough tough spot and deep diving. I reckon we're up for some Korean.
Yeah. Oh my God. So excited.
Yeah.
So excited for some kimchi. Yes.
And barbecuing. Yeah. Korea's got it okay for now. I mean, they're on top of the COVID and managing the situation there. So, all right, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chan.
Well, let's have you on again and we can talk more about what's happening in the world.
All right.
Bagrat out.
Hey, thanks for listening to this week's podcast. For the latest updates and cookie posts, follow us at Captain Bagrat on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you love it as much as Captain Bagrat and we do, please support us with likes and shares. If you're really digging Captain Bagrat, it does cost us a bit to produce, and we really appreciate donations and in-kind contributions via Patreon or however you like. I mean, we will never say no to be a sponsorship. Your support will bring us one step closer to having our own TV show one day and to live broadcast it from the heart of downtown Chinatown. Solid.